I think there's like an obvious flaw, which makes it harder to see the less obvious flaw. Okay? So let's talk about that. An action is morally right if it would be reasonably expected to increase the aggregate well-being. So that's an if-then statement, right? I wasn't going to draw that, but then the next sentence said if and only if, and I was like, oh, dang it, okay, I'm going to draw this just so I don't get lost. If it would be reasonably expected to increase the well-being, right, then it's morally right. Sound good? Okay. Then it says an action is morally wrong. Shoot. I feel like they vacuum all the time here. Keep closing the door. It's like, let's vacuum again. I don't know what they're vacuuming. An action is morally wrong if and only if. So this is anyone know? Biconditional, double arrow. You cool with that? Because remember, if introduces if, and only if introduces then. So it's saying that the second clause is both a sufficient condition and a necessary condition. That's why if and only if is a double arrow. Anyways, it would be, if it would be reasonably expected to reduce the aggregate well-being, if well-being goes down, then you have if and only if morally wrong. Right? Now, when I was looking at this, I was like, aha, I know what's going on here, you sneaky LSAT test writers. Well-being can go up, well-being can go down, or well-being can stay the same. So I was fixated on this difference right here, right? Then it has the conclusion, and the conclusion is, hey, actions that would be reasonably expected to leave unchanged. I was like, oh, wait, that's what I was thinking about. Are also right. I was like, okay, so the middle ground is morally right, or just right, I guess. They don't say morally, do they? This is also right, so it's probably referring to the morally. In any case, at first glance, I was like, actually, this argument makes sense, because if this is a biconditional, it's saying that the only time that well-being can go down is when things are morally wrong. So if they're not going down, if they're going up, or they're staying the same, this is staying the same, then it should not be morally wrong. Are you guys okay with that? So then I was like, not morally wrong, that means it's morally right. And that's what they said. So this is a valid argument. And then it's like, oh, wait. Yes?
So then why did they include the first premise?
Just, to add confusion, chaos. Yeah. If we can put up a lot of flares, then it's like, which one should I focus on? This is definitely a problem. You have middle ground here. You also have middle ground here. So in thinking about the argument a little more, I'm like, wait a sec. Just because something is not morally wrong does not make it morally right. Right? It might just be neutral as well. So at least for me, they got me because I was thinking about this gap and I forgot to think about this gap. Right? It's a classic distraction technique. But because that's a gap, because when things are not going down, when they're staying the same, that means they're not morally wrong. You can't necessarily assume that then they're morally right. But that's what the conclusion does. Are we okay with that? So answer choice C, any action that is not morally wrong is morally right, closes that gap. It says, hey, there can't be any middle ground here. If something is not this, then it is going to be that, which would prove this conclusion on the basis of this premise alone. You're absolutely right. This is the first premise is irrelevant. Okay, what type of question is this? Sufficient assumption. We know that because of the word if. And answer choice C is really strong. That's fine because we're trying to strengthen the conclusion. What answers were we debating? A. Well, that's strong too. Only wrong actions would be reasonably expected to reduce the aggregate well-being of the people affected by them. Okay, so only is the necessary condition, right? So what is this saying? If expected to reduce, so answer choice A says, if expected to reduce the well-being, then what happens? It's wrong. I feel like this is restating this premise right here, and thus not adding anything to the argument. Camilla, are you cool with that?
Yes.
I mean, this claim right here is actually stronger than this claim. There's a slight difference. This talks about morally wrong. This talks about wrong in general. But I don't know if that matters here because we're really trying to get to right. And we still have to make the same assumption with answer choice A. It doesn't tell us that if something is not going down, then it's right. So, answer choice B, I don't really know what to think of that. No action is both right and wrong. Answer choice D, I thought for a half second might be a necessary assumption. I don't even think it's necessary, but it kind of has that tone because it's very weak. Answer choice E, good consequences. That requires you to just make yet another assumption. Right? Oh, if something's got good consequences, then it's morally right or something like that. Are we okay with this? Okay.